Rain lashed the rusted metal roof of the abandoned train station. Lightning forked through the sky, briefly illuminating the crumbling tracks and the once grand arches now overtaken by ivy and rot. It was a place long forgotten, left to decay after the outbreak swept across dead America. Most survivors avoided it. Locals whispered that something unnatural stalked the shadows of that station. But tonight, a group of 6 had no choice. Captain Jonas Reed led the team, his boots splashing through ankle-deep puddles on the broken platform. A former transit officer turned survival tactician, Jonas had seen his share of horror, but even he hesitated when he saw the cracked sign above, Platform 13, no departures. Behind him, Nora Vale, quick with a blade and even quicker with her temper, scanned the dark interior of the terminal with narrowed eyes. She didn't trust old places. History had a way of holding on to its ghosts. Alongside her trudged Malik, the team's engineer, lugging a jury-rigged generator and a reinforced pack. Their medic, a soft-spoken young man named Elias, followed close behind, his eyes darting at every echo. The last 2, twins Mia and Cole, stayed silent, scouting the edges with crossbows drawn. They had taken refuge here only because a storm had cut off their planned route north. The undead flooded the roads behind them, and the bridge they were supposed to cross had collapsed hours earlier. The train station was the only shelter for miles. They planned to wait until dawn, nothing more. As they entered the main hall, the flickering light from their flashlights revealed shattered benches, torn posters clinging to walls, and shattered windows through which the wind howled. But it wasn't just the decay that made them uneasy. It was the silence. No birds. No rodents. Not even the low, wet groans of nearby zombies. "Why is it so quiet?" Mia asked, her voice barely a whisper. Jonas raised a hand, motioning for silence. "Secure the perimeter. Barricade the exits. No one splits up." They moved quickly, blocking entrances with benches and collapsed vending machines. Malik set up the generator in what used to be a ticket booth, while Nora inspected the stairwell that led underground. The air grew colder as night fully settled in. As the team gathered in the waiting area to discuss rotations, the first noise came, not from outside, but from within. A metallic clang echoed from the lower levels. "Could be the wind," Elias offered, though his voice wavered. Jonas didn't answer. He moved toward the stairwell with Nora and Cole. The air grew heavier as they descended, the smell of mildew and something fouler growing stronger. They stopped when they reached the maintenance tunnels, where flashlights flickered erratically. There, movement. A shape dashed past the light. Too fast. Too fluid. Cole swore. Not a crawler. Too quick. They backed up slowly, but something was wrong. The air shifted. The ground beneath them vibrated ever so slightly, as if something enormous stirred below. A shrill shriek pierced the air, far more feral than any infected Jonas had ever heard. They retreated to the upper levels, hearts pounding. "Something's down there," Jonas said grimly. "And it's not just walkers." "I told you this place was cursed," Nora muttered. Just then, Malik's voice came through their radios. "Guys, the lights, the generator's acting weird. I think." Static. When they rushed back, the main hall was bathed in dim, pulsing red light. The generator thudded unnaturally, emitting brief flashes before cutting off. In that strobing darkness, Elias screamed. They found him slumped near the entrance. Scratches covered his chest and arms. His eyes were wide, shocked, but he was alive. "What the hell did this?" Mia asked, crouching beside him. "I didn't see," Elias rasped. "It moved like it was everywhere." The shadows came alive. The team gathered tightly. They weren't just dealing with zombies. Something else lurked here, something smarter, or more aware. Jonas studied their surroundings, thinking. If something's hunting us, we need high ground. The upper platforms. "Split up?" Cole asked. "No," Jonas said firmly. "No one alone. We move together. No one dies tonight." But the unease in the group was growing. They had come here to survive until sunrise. Now, they were trapped in a forgotten battleground where survival wasn't guaranteed. Above them, hidden in the steel beams, unseen eyes watched. Waiting. The team moved in tense silence, the red flicker from the failing generator painting the cracked tiles and broken signs in hues of blood. The high-pitched whine of dying electricity echoed through the vast terminal. Elias limped between Mia and Malik, his breath shallow, skin clammy. Jonas swept his flashlight across the stairwell again. He didn't like being blind to what waited below, but the upper platform gave them visibility, and maybe time to plan. Whatever attacked Elias had left no footprints. No sound. No pattern. That terrified him more than the infected. As they reached the second level, Nora blocked off the narrow stairwell behind them with an old steel luggage cart and a rusted pipe she jammed through the railing. It won't hold forever, but it'll slow whatever that was. Unless it's already up here, Mia said softly, scanning the shadows between support beams. Malik set Elias down gently against a brick wall near the old snack kiosk. The lights above flickered, then steadied into a dull yellow glow, emergency power, likely wired to backup systems no one had touched in years. I think it's working again, Malik said. I rerouted the backup batteries from the platform junction box. You're a genius, Cole said, giving him a half-hearted pat on the back. Now make it last. Working on it. Jonas knelt beside Elias, who shivered despite the heat. Tell me everything you remember. Slow. Elias's lips trembled. I was near the window, thought I saw something outside. Then, cold. Everything went cold. I heard scratching on the walls, above me. Then something fast hit me, like claws, not hands. Then it was gone. Not infected behavior, Jonas muttered. Not even ferals. What if it's one of the mutation strains? Nora asked. From the underground research labs? We've heard stories, walkers that crawl on ceilings, whisper through walls. I don't believe in rumors, Jonas replied. But I believe in things I can't explain, and that thing wasn't human anymore. Suddenly, a loud metallic bang echoed through the tunnel entrance they'd just sealed. The pipe jammed and the stairwell twisted as something heavy slammed into it from below. The team sprang into defensive formation. Mia raised her crossbow. Cole had his machete ready. Nora gripped a fire axe she'd scavenged earlier. Jonas unholstered his suppressed pistol, not ideal for tight quarters, but better than nothing. Another bang, this one louder. Then silence. Everyone held their breath. From the shadows near the far end of the platform, a low hiss escaped. Not a growl. Not a moan. Just a dry, rattling hiss, like breath through a shredded throat. Nora pointed her flashlight toward it. The beam caught something. A figure crouched in the corner. Emaciated. Pale. Its limbs longer than they should be. Its head snapped up at the light, eyes glowing faintly in the yellow hue. It didn't roar. It didn't rush. It watched. Then, with one impossible movement, it vanished into the ventilation shaft overhead. Cole swore. It's using the ducts. Jonas turned to Malik. Can you map the air vents? Malik nodded slowly. There's a central maintenance panel on the main concourse. If the wiring isn't fried, I can get a layout. That's back downstairs, Nora said, frowning. Then we go together. Fast. We get that map. We end this. Jonas looked at Elias, who had slumped into semi-consciousness. You three stay here, he told Mia, Cole, and Elias. If anything moves, signal us with the flares. We'll be back in 5. They descended the stairwell as quietly as possible, avoiding the lower tunnels this time, keeping to the broken walkways along the edge. Every noise echoed like thunder. A distant screech of twisted metal somewhere in the walls reminded them they were not alone. When they reached the maintenance panel, Malik went to work while Jonas and Nora stood guard. The light from the screen flickered as he powered it up, fingers flying across the dusty interface. There, Malik said. That thing is using the old service shafts. They crisscross the whole station. If it knows the layout, it could be above us, or below, at any time. Jonas scanned the blueprint. There's a central breaker room. It links all power and control to this entire station. If we control it, we might be able to lock the ducts or trap it. Trap it with what? Nora asked. We'll figure it out, Jonas replied. As they turned to leave, a soft click echoed through the hallway. Then another. Like claws tapping against tile. They weren't alone anymore. Jonas raised his pistol, and Nora stepped in front with her axe. Behind them, Malik muttered a curse. Something moved in the shadows, above them this time. A shape slithered across the ceiling silently, pausing just long enough to make eye contact with Jonas. Then it dropped. It landed between them with terrifying grace, bones cracking under thin skin, claws scraping the tiled floor, and eyes like molten glass fixed on Jonas. The air went dead still. No breath. No sound. Just the quiet, coiled presence of a predator assessing its prey. Jonas didn't hesitate. He fired. The bullet struck its shoulder, spinning it slightly, but the thing barely reacted. It hissed, high-pitched and unnatural, then sprang at him. Nora moved first, swinging her axe in a wide arc. The blade sliced across its chest, a burst of dark fluid spraying the floor, but it twisted mid-air and vanished into the shadows behind a crumbled column. Jonas rolled to one knee, scanning the space. Malik, move. Malik was already scrambling for the stairs, clutching the tablet loaded with the ventilation blueprints. Nora backed toward him, axe raised. Jonas followed, never turning his back to the darkness. They made it to the stairwell and slammed the iron door shut behind them, using a loose pipe to wedge it in place. Did you see its face? Malik panted. That wasn't a zombie. That thing, it was studying us. Nora didn't speak. She leaned against the wall, breathing hard, face pale but steady. It's playing with us. Testing us. Jonas nodded grimly. Then let's stop being predictable. Back on the upper platform, Mia and Cole had reinforced their barricade with metal benches and old ticket kiosks. Elias remained unconscious, his breathing shallow but stable. Jonas moved quickly. Malik has a layout of the ducts. We can figure out where that thing's moving. Malik unrolled a paper blueprint and laid it on the concrete. The ducts are old industrial size. Big enough for something human, barely. But if this thing is more flexible, it could move freely. There's a bottleneck here, Nora pointed at the map. Service Junction B7. If we block both ends and trap it inside. Cole raised an eyebrow. And then what? Wish it away? We burn it, Jonas said simply. There's an old fuel depot beneath the station. If we can pipe gas through the maintenance lines, we can set a trap. That's a big if, Malik said, already checking his bag. You've done more with less, Mia said. Malik didn't argue. They moved fast, splitting into two teams. Jonas and Malik would reroute the fuel line through the lower corridors. Nora, Mia, and Cole would block the exits of the ventilation system at Junction B7 and wait for Jonas's signal. The station had become a maze of shadows and echoes, every step charged with dread. As Malik worked his way into the access panel behind an old vending machine, Jonas stood guard, listening to every creak above them. Why do you think it hasn't killed us yet? Malik asked suddenly. Jonas didn't answer right away. Then, because it wants to. But not yet. The implication hung in the air like fog. Meanwhile, Nora's group reached the junction. The vent shaft there was larger than expected, 4 feet wide, its edges lined with rust and grease. Cole and Mia piled crates and scrap metal against the side exits while Nora prepped the makeshift fuel sprayer Malik had rigged from old hose lines and pressurized valves. Think this'll work? Mia asked. If it doesn't, Nora said, we'll know fast. Suddenly, the air in the shaft changed. A soft scraping sound echoed, subtle at first, then sharper. It's here, Cole whispered. Nora didn't flinch. She lit a flare and tossed it into the duct. The shadows danced. Nothing visible yet, but the sound was coming closer. Claws on metal. A whispering breath. Back at the fuel controls, Malik gave Jonas a nod. "We've got pressure. You'll have about 20 seconds of flow before it burns out the line." Jonas clicked his radio. "Nora, you ready?" The response was static, then Mia's voice, shaky, "It's in the shaft." "Do it now," Jonas ordered. Malik twisted the valve. A rush of fuel shot through the old hoses and into the vent shaft. The smell filled the hallway instantly, sharp, choking fumes. Nora struck the ignition on the sprayer. A roar of flame surged through the duct. Screams echoed from inside, not human screams. Shrill. Animal. Furious. The metal glowed red for a second before going dark again. The air filled with smoke and the stench of burned rot. The three stared at the shaft, waiting. Nothing came out. Silence returned. Jonas's voice came through. "Report." Nora lifted the radio. "Fire's out. Duct sealed. No movement." Malik exhaled. "We got it." "We slowed it," Jonas said. Then Elias, who had been silent for nearly an hour, suddenly sat upright and whispered, "It's not alone." Everyone froze. "What did you say?" Mia asked. Elias turned toward her slowly, his eyes wide. "There's more than one." Elias's voice barely rose above a whisper, but the words struck like thunder. "There's more than one." Mia stared at him, her mind struggling to process it. "What do you mean more than one? You saw another?" "I heard them," Elias said, shaking. "When it attacked me. There were voices, in the walls. Scraping. Breathing. I thought I imagined it. But they were speaking. Whispering to each other." "Whispering?" Cole asked, stepping forward. "Zombies don't whisper. They moan. They groan. They scream. They don't whisper." Elias grabbed Mia's arm tightly, his strength surprising. "I'm telling you, there were more. It didn't come alone. It was watching me, but something else was behind it." Deeper in the station. Nora clicked on the radio. "Jonas, get back here. Elias says we're not alone, he's talking about more creatures like the one we burned." "Copy," Jonas replied. "Malik's packing up. We'll head up fast." Cole moved to the edge of the platform and aimed his crossbow down the hallway. "I don't like this. That thing watched us like it understood. What if the others do too?" Nora paced. "We've been treating this place like a shelter. It's not. It's a nest." The realization settled like dust in their throats. 5 minutes later, Jonas and Malik returned, grim-faced and silent. Jonas motioned them to circle up around the map. "We can't assume we're dealing with standard infected anymore," he said. "If there are more of those creatures, we need to know where they're hiding." "We need to find the nest," Nora added. Malik nodded. "There's one place we haven't searched. An old maintenance tunnel beneath the loading docks. According to the blueprint, it leads to a decommissioned storage bay. We thought it was sealed off, but if those things got in, it might be their entry point. Or where they're breeding," Jonas said. The word sent a cold silence through the group. Cole pulled a pair of night vision goggles from his bag. "If they're hiding in the dark, we'll need these. They move faster than anything we've seen." Jonas pointed at Elias. "He's staying here with Mia. We don't split more than we have to. Nora, Cole, Malik, you're with me. We find out what's down there. If we're lucky, it's just echoes." No one believed that. The maintenance tunnel was narrow, its walls covered in grime and streaked with black residue. Malik led the way with his modified flashlight rig, casting harsh beams down the curving hall. The deeper they went, the colder it got. Every step sounded louder. Every drop of water echoed like a scream. "Smells like rot," Nora muttered. "Feels like death," Cole replied. They reached a rusted door at the end of the corridor. The lock had been melted. Not broken, melted, as if something had burned through it with acid or heat. Malik slowly pushed it open. Inside was a massive storage chamber, larger than expected. It had once held crates, generators, equipment. Now, it held something else. Bones. Dozens of them. Human. Scattered in twisted piles. Torn clothing. Scrap gear. All recent. Jonas, Nora whispered, shining her light toward the far end of the room. In the corner stood what looked like a nest, made from wires, broken glass, and skin. Tattered pieces of uniforms, boots, radios, even helmets were wedged into the structure. And inside the nest, they saw shapes. Not moving. Not yet. Jonas raised his pistol. I count 4. Maybe 5. Sleeping? Cole asked. Waiting, Malik said. Just then, one of the creatures opened its eyes. And then another. One by one, the figures in the nest stirred. Their bodies unfolded with sickening grace, too long for their frames. Their skin shimmered like it was made of ashen muscle. They didn't scream. They watched. Jonas stepped back slowly. No sudden moves. The creatures rose, climbing the walls like spiders. 4 of them. Their heads tilted in unison as they studied the intruders. Then the lead one stepped forward. It didn't attack. It spoke. A low, garbled voice, like broken glass grinding against metal. The words were hard to understand, but it was speaking. Something ancient. Something intelligent. Cole dropped his crossbow in shock. Did it just? Back. Now. Jonas ordered. They retreated slowly. The creatures didn't follow. Not yet. Once they reached the surface, Jonas sealed the tunnel door and braced it with everything they had. Then he turned to the team. That wasn't just evolution, he said. That was design. They're not mindless, Nora added, voice tight. They're thinking. Planning. They've been living here, Malik said, shaken. We stumbled into their hive. Jonas looked toward the far window. The sky was still dark, but dawn couldn't be far. We have until sunrise, he said. After that, we're not trapped in here with them. He looked back toward the sealed tunnel. They'll be coming for us. The boarded windows filtered in a faint, blue pre-dawn glow, but inside the station, it still felt like midnight. The air was heavy, and the silence had shifted. No longer empty. It was the kind of silence that held its breath, waiting. Jonas leaned over the map, his fingers tracing escape routes that no longer felt safe. The tunnel's sealed, but we all saw it. They weren't scared. They let us leave. Nora stood beside him, staring into the flickering emergency lights above. They're waiting for something. Or someone, Malik added. Maybe we're not their only prey. Mia sat beside Elias, who was now fully conscious but clearly still weak. His skin was pale, his hands shaking. They're not mindless, he said, voice flat. They're listening. Watching. Like they understand us. They do, Cole muttered, pacing near the edge of the platform. I heard it speak down there. Words I couldn't make out, but it was speech. Not animal sounds. That thing knew what it was doing. Jonas didn't look up. That changes everything. Nora nodded. Then we stop thinking of them as infected. And start thinking of them as an enemy that learns. We can't fight them in here, Malik said. They know every inch of this place. We're just rats in their maze. There's a freight elevator shaft, Jonas said. I saw it on the lower level schematic. If we can reach it, climb the service ladder, we can punch out through the roof. Then what? Mia asked. We're still surrounded. Even if we get outside, what's waiting for us? We deal with that when we get there, Jonas said. Because staying here means waiting for them to choose the moment we die. Nora stepped forward. Then we prep everything. Load weapons. Pack light. We move before they do. The team scattered to prepare, adrenaline suppressing their fear. They reinforced Elias's sling and gave him a walking stick, something scavenged from an old signpost. Mia handed out the last of the bolt rounds. Cole took his place as rear guard, machete sharpened to a gleam. Jonas led the way, flashlight taped under his rifle. They moved fast and quiet, descending into the maintenance corridor that led to the freight elevator. The station groaned above them, an old structure giving into age. Or maybe something else. Something moving within the walls. They reached the freight shaft, the doors rusted half open. The elevator car itself hung far below, but the ladder was intact, bolted to the concrete shaft wall. Malik tested it first. Stable. Should hold all of us one at a time. Jonas helped Elias begin the climb first, followed by Mia. Cole waited with Nora and Jonas until they were halfway up. That's when they heard it. A soft tap. 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 Then more, faster. Louder. Like claws on concrete. Coming from the hallway behind them. Cole turned just in time to see the shadows bend. "They're here," he shouted. From the hallway, 3 of the creatures emerged. Crawling. Slithering. One dropped from the ceiling and landed on all fours, eyes glowing with unholy intelligence. Jonas fired first, 2 quick shots into the lead one. It staggered but didn't fall. "Up the ladder," he barked. Cole pushed Malik upward as fast as he could. Nora slammed the elevator door halfway shut and jammed a pipe through the handle, buying seconds. Seconds were all they had. One creature lunged, crashing into the pipe and bending it inward. Nora swung her axe, catching it in the throat. It hissed and reeled back, gurgling, but the second one was already climbing the wall, aiming for the open top of the shaft. Jonas took aim and fired again, hitting the climber's arm. It fell, shrieking, and landed on its back, but not dead. Nora grabbed the bottom rung and started up. Cole followed, firing his last crossbow bolt into the face of the third. Jonas was the last to climb. Below, the creatures howled, no longer whispering, now furious. Halfway up, the shaft shook. Something was climbing with them. From the wall. From the darkness below. Cole turned and saw it. One of them had bypassed the ladder entirely, scaling the shaft wall like an insect. "Jonas, move." Jonas looked down, and locked eyes with the thing less than 10 feet below. Then, from above, a hand reached down. "Malik. Grab on." Jonas lunged upward, caught Malik's arm, and was hauled to the top just as Nora swung a metal beam into the climbing creature's face, sending it tumbling back into the dark. They pulled the hatch shut. Silence returned, but it was different now. Not relief. A calm before the next wave. They were on the roof. The sky was still dark, but the first light of morning was bleeding through the clouds. "We made it," Mia whispered. But Jonas looked back toward the edge of the rooftop. Because behind them, something had climbed out, too. The wind on the rooftop was sharp and cold, cutting through sweat-drenched clothes and adrenaline-soaked nerves. The station's roof stretched wide and flat, lined with rusting ventilation systems, satellite dishes, and broken antennas. To the east, the horizon glowed with a weak pre-dawn light, but to the west, the city skyline stood in ruins, silhouetted against a world that had long since ended. Jonas raised his rifle and scanned the shadows near the maintenance hatch they'd just emerged from. Something had climbed out behind them. "Eyes on the hatch," he barked, moving between it and the others. Nora dropped to one knee, axe ready, while Cole pulled a flare from his bag and cracked it open. Red light splashed across the gravel-strewn rooftop. Mia helped Elias to his feet, keeping him close to the low wall edge where they could at least have cover. Seconds ticked by. Nothing came. Then, thud. A hand slapped against the metal edge of the hatch. Long fingers curled up slowly. Jonas didn't wait. He fired 3 rounds into the hand. The scream that followed wasn't from pain, it was from rage. Another hand shot out from the other side. "Two of them!" Nora shouted. Jonas nodded. "We don't let them get footing." Cole lit another flare and rolled it down the hatch. The red light disappeared into the shaft, then burst into sudden sparks. Screeches rose from below. "Back up to the far wall," Jonas ordered. "We find another way down." Malik moved quickly, scanning the rooftop's layout. "There's a roof access ladder on the north side, goes down to the outer loading bay. If it's still intact, we can reach street level." "That's a big if," Mia said, keeping one eye on the hatch. Suddenly, the first creature vaulted from the opening, launching itself into the air with terrifying speed. It landed in a crouch, eyes glowing with fury. Jonas fired, Nora charged. The creature dodged, but not fast enough to avoid Nora's axe grazing its ribs. It reeled back, hissing. Another one emerged behind it, slower, more cautious. "They're not attacking all at once," Cole said, stunned. "They're thinking. They're hunting," Nora growled. Malik spotted the ladder cage at the far end of the rooftop. "There, go!" Elias was already limping that direction with Mia's help. Jonas and Cole kept pressure on the two creatures, forcing them to stay low and defensive. The rooftop became a battlefield, one fought not in numbers, but in nerve. As the others ran, Jonas shouted, "Nora, go with them. I've got your six." "No, go!" She hesitated, then turned and sprinted after the group, leaving Jonas and Cole behind to cover the retreat. One of the creatures suddenly lunged forward, but this time, it didn't go for them. It spun and bolted toward the fleeing group. Jonas saw it first. "No, no, no!" He fired. The shot hit the thing's back, but it didn't slow. It leaped across the rooftop, claws scraping gravel. Mia turned just in time to shove Elias out of the way. The creature landed between her and Malik, growling low. Then Nora was there. She slammed into it with everything she had, her axe biting deep into its shoulder. The creature shrieked and threw her aside like a doll, but she'd bought time. Malik grabbed Mia and Elias, pulling them toward the ladder. Cole moved fast, tackling the injured creature from behind. They rolled across the rooftop in a tangle of limbs, snarling, punching, clawing. Jonas ran in to help. The second creature was now circling. Watching. Waiting. Cole finally kicked the first one off the edge of the roof. It shrieked all the way down until the sound ended in a sickening crunch. Jonas and Cole turned to face the remaining one, but it didn't attack. It stood still. And then, it smiled. Jonas froze. The creature stepped back toward the hatch and hissed softly, almost like it was whispering again. Then it disappeared, dropping back down into the station. "Why didn't it fight?" Cole asked, breathless. Jonas watched the hatch. "Because it didn't need to." They turned toward the others. Nora was helping Elias down the access ladder. Mia and Malik followed quickly. Jonas and Cole brought up the rear, not speaking until they reached the ground. They were outside. But the world beyond the station was no better. The city streets were still. Abandoned cars littered the road. Buildings loomed overhead like tombstones. There were no sirens. No survivors. Just the occasional groan of something far away. Mia exhaled, rubbing her eyes. "We made it out." Jonas shook his head. "No. We escaped the trap." Cole looked back at the rooftop, silent. Nora stood nearby, her expression unreadable. "We've seen too much. If they can think, if they're organizing, this isn't an outbreak. It's a war." Jonas looked down the empty street, toward the dawn breaking over ruined towers. And this station was just the first battlefield. The survivors moved fast down the deserted street, their eyes scanning every broken window and rusted vehicle for signs of movement. The city felt hollow, like it had been carved out and left to rot. Concrete skeletons of old towers loomed above, and every gust of wind whispered things they didn't want to hear. Mia gripped Elias's arm as they made their way between two overturned buses. His steps were shaky but determined. "We need to find somewhere to broadcast," she said, her voice low but urgent. "People need to know what's inside that station." "They won't believe us," Cole muttered behind them. "They don't have to believe," Nora said. "They just need to be warned." Jonas stopped at a street corner and signaled for the others to hold. His eyes scanned the cracked signage of the abandoned strip mall ahead. "There," he said, pointing at a small communications store. "Ham radios, backup generators. If it wasn't looted, we might get a signal out." Malik nodded and rushed forward, clearing the glass door with a swift kick. The inside was dark and dusty, but the racks were still stocked with outdated electronics, headsets, receivers, portable towers. A miracle. Jonas and Cole worked quickly, clearing a space near the back counter where a generator sat untouched. Malik flipped open the gas tank. "Bone dry," he said. "I saw a maintenance van 3 blocks back," Nora said. "It might still have fuel." Jonas nodded. "Mia, Malik, stay here. Get the equipment powered. Cole, Nora, you're with me." They left without wasting a second. Inside the shop, Elias sank into a battered swivel chair, breathing hard. "Even if we get a signal out, will anyone hear it?" "They have to," Mia said, rummaging through drawers for batteries and connectors. "There have to be other groups out there. We just need one to respond." She found an old transmitter beneath the counter, covered in dust but intact. Plugging it into the receiver, she turned the dial, static hissing from the speakers. Back on the street, Jonas's group reached the van and forced the door open. The fuel canister was behind the seat, half full. "Let's pray this thing isn't water," Nora muttered. They filled a jug, then turned to head back, only to freeze. A figure stood at the far end of the alley. Still. Watching. Another one stepped out behind it. And another. Cole tightened his grip on the machete. 3. Jonas exhaled slowly. "No, look again." From the shadows, a fourth emerged. Then 2 more. They were lining the rooftops now, silent, crawling into position like spiders preparing for a feast. "They're tracking us," Nora whispered. "Not attacking, following." "They're waiting for something," Jonas said. The group didn't run. They walked, fast, calm, and controlled, until they were out of the alley and back into the open street. Inside the radio shop, Mia had gotten a weak hum of power through the system. The lights flickered. The receiver pinged to life. "I've got signal," she shouted. Malik rushed over. "What frequency?" "Emergency civil band. Channel 9. She leaned into the microphone. "This is a survivor broadcast. If anyone can hear me, this is Mia Carter. We just escaped an abandoned train station near Roosevelt and 9th. There's something wrong in there. These aren't normal infected. They're organized. They think. If you're planning to use the station as a shelter, don't. Do not go in there." She waited. No reply. She repeated the message. Nothing. Then, a voice. Crackling. Broken. "This is Fireteam Echo, East Sector. We hear you." "Repeat, say again." Mia's hands shook. "We read you. Echo Team, this is Mia Carter with 5 survivors. We have visual confirmation of advanced infected, intelligent behavior, coordinated movement. They're using the station as a trap. We need help. Over." Silence. Then, "Copy that, Mia. We've seen similar patterns in other sectors." Reports were dismissed. "You're the first to confirm. Hold position. We're rerouting our recon drone. ETA 30 minutes. Over." Mia's eyes filled with tears. "They heard us." Elias smiled faintly. "Then maybe this night wasn't for nothing." Outside, Jonas and the others returned, gasping as they sealed the door behind them. "We're not alone," Jonas said. "They followed us." "How many?" Malik asked. Too many, Cole replied. Nora walked to the window and peeled back a sliver of curtain. The rooftops. The alleys. The shadows. They were all watching. Mia looked up from the receiver. A drone is on its way. 30 minutes. Then we make a stand, Jonas said. Hold them back. Just long enough. Cole picked up the flare gun. One shot could blind them, slow them down. Malik rigged traps with wires and sharpened antenna rods. Nora stacked chairs into barricades. They didn't speak much. Every second counted. As the first sliver of sun broke over the distant ruins, Jonas looked at his team, tired, bloodied, but still fighting. They may have chosen this place as their battlefield, he said. But they didn't choose us as their enemy. The sun peeked over the ruins of the city, casting long shadows across the cracked streets. But inside the small communications shop, the light did little to chase away the dread. The survivors stood at their makeshift barricades, gripping weapons fashioned from scrap, steel, in desperation. They're still out there, Nora whispered from the window, eyes scanning the rooftops across the street. Watching. Waiting. They're studying us, Jonas said. They learn every time we act. But if that drone makes it in time, we might live to teach them something for once. Mia checked the radio again. Static. Then a brief burst of signal. Echo team, came the garbled voice. We are en route, hostile movement detected near broadcast origin. Hold position. Malik laughed bitterly. Hold position, he says. As if we've got a choice. Jonas looked over the group. Nora at the front barricade. Cole beside the side door, flare gun loaded. Mia and Elias in the back, protected by Malik's traps in the strongest part of the building. They had maybe a dozen minutes of fuel left in the generator. Just enough power to keep the signal alive a little longer. Then the scratching began. Not loud. Just subtle. Scrapes against the outer walls. A nail dragged down brick. A soft hiss, barely audible. They're moving, Cole muttered. Closing in. Wait for it, Jonas said. Don't waste ammo on shadows. The first one came fast, leaping from the side of a car and crashing into the window. The glass cracked but held. Then another. From the back. Clawing at the door. They're testing for weak spots, Malik said. The front door shattered a second later as a creature hurled itself through, scattering chairs and cables. Nora swung her axe, striking its shoulder, but it didn't fall. It roared and lunged. Jonas fired. 2 rounds to the chest dropped it cold. Then chaos erupted. More poured in through the broken windows. Crawling. Slithering. Eyes gleaming with purpose. Not like beasts, but soldiers. Cole fired the flare gun, whoosh. A red blast of heat and light exploded near the back entrance, momentarily blinding 2 of the creatures and setting fire to a curtain. Malik shoved the flaming cloth against one attacker and used the distraction to stab it through the eye with a sharpened rod. Elias pulled Mia behind the shelving units, shielding her with his body as debris flew overhead. We hold this place. Jonas yelled. Every second counts. Another wave hit. The air filled with gunshots, howls, the crack of metal on bone. Blood, dark, thick, inhuman, splattered across the floor. But they didn't fall back. The survivors pushed harder. Nora took a deep gash to the arm but didn't stop swinging. Cole lost his machete and fought with a broken antenna. Malik's hands were blistered from flame and wire, but he kept rebuilding traps mid-fight. Then, above them, a sound like thunder. Jonas looked up through the crumbling skylight. A dark shape cut through the sky, Echo Team's drone. It hovered above the building, scanning with a blue spotlight that swept the area in smooth, robotic precision. From the radio, a voice crackled. Target locked. Survivors located. Begin deterrent sweep. A high-pitched whine filled the air as the drone deployed a sonic burst. The creatures screamed, clutching their heads, writhing. Some fled. Some convulsed on the floor. The survivors staggered but held their ground. Cole shouted over the sound, "That's our window. We move now." Mia and Elias ran first, pushing through the back as the drone dropped a smoke flare to cover them. Malik followed, dragging Nora, who was bleeding heavily but still conscious. Jonas brought up the rear, tossing a firebomb from the store's broken display into the remaining cluster of attackers. Boom! Flames roared behind them as they reached the alleyway. The drone hovered low, its speaker repeating in a monotone. "Evac en route. Hold for extraction." They found shelter in a nearby building, an old pharmacy with reinforced doors. As they secured it, the world outside fell into a strange silence. Not empty. Not safe. But still. Jonas collapsed against the wall, breath ragged. "We bought ourselves time. Was it enough?" Mia asked. Elias nodded slowly. "We sent the warning. That matters. Even if no one listens." "They'll listen," Nora said, her voice hoarse but steady. "They have to." As the sun rose higher, the drone circled overhead once more before flying off toward the horizon. For the first time in days, no creature followed. No claws. No hisses. No whispers. Just silence. A fragile peace in a city that had forgotten what peace meant. Jonas looked at his people, bruised, bloodied, alive. They hadn't just survived the station. They had survived what lived inside it. And now the world knew. The end. Thank you for trusting me with your story. Let me know if you'd like help with a cinematic title screen, thumbnails, or audio narration script for YouTube.